Okay, hello and welcome here to the regular exercise session where we are going to be looking a little bit on dictionaries. So that's going to be really exciting. So dictionaries is like an extension to lists. It's a different kind of data structure, and it was one of those things where when I started out learning about Python, I learned what a list was, and I thought that was great. And then I saw these curly parentheses and the colons, and I thought that's not so great. And then I avoided dictionaries, and it actually took quite a long while before I started using them. And when I started using them, I became really happy about them. They are super convenient, and when you move on to another language, dictionaries is one of the things you're going to miss. So I'd really invite all of you to give this a shot, because it can just make writing programs a lot more convenient than if you just try to avoid dictionaries. So this first exercise, text to NATO, is about taking a word like hello or aloha, and we can see that somebody is doing something funny with small and capital letters. And then basically what you do in the NATO alphabet is that you transform alpha, A to alpha, sorry, and L to Lima. Let's give it up some here like this, Lima. And O should become Omaha, something like that. Oscar, yeah, there you go. And so on and so forth. So you take this word and you transform it into Alpha, Lima, Oscar, Hotel, Alpha. So that's what the NATO alphabet is, and it's something they use in the military to tell each other words in a verbose way, but that's less prone to errors than just trying to spell things out. And we're going to do this with dictionaries. So we can see that this translation from letters to words is stored as a dictionary. And let's try to play around a little bit with this data structure that we're given, because that'll tell us something about what we can do with dictionaries. So I'm going to go into my files, and I got a bunch of stuff open, so I'm just going to close that like this. Bye. And then we'll close tests, because we don't care about that right now, and project 2. You're probably all happy that you don't have to care about that anymore. And then we open nato.py. Oh, wow, didn't we get the alphabet? I thought somebody would give us the alphabet. Apparently they didn't tell us the alphabet. So I guess we need to take this dictionary and copy paste it into this program. So now we have the dictionary stored here in the program. We have the function that we need to write at some point. So alpha, Omaha, blah, blah, like this. Okay. And then here we have a little snippet that calls our function on hello. So hello should become, what is hotel, echo, I guess, echo, yes. Hotel, echo, Lima, Lima, Oscar. Okay. So before I do that, let's try to play around with this data structure. So I'm going to do that with the debugger, because it's just super convenient. So remember from last time, what the debugger does is that it allows us to stop the program as it's running. And the way you do that is that you press here in the margin. So we can see there is a little red dot. So you press on a line of code like this one and say, I want to stop the program right here. And then you go into the run button and you select debug Python file. And what happens when you do that is that the program runs as normal, but the moment it reaches this line, like when the execution reaches this line, it does that at the very end, it stops. So let's try and check that's actually the case. So it's running and now it's stopped. So then what I can do is that I can go over and press debug control like this. And now the program is stopped, so I can explore my variables. So I can take this variable, for instance, and copy paste it, and now Python will print it out and I can explore it. So let's see what we can do. We can index it. So if I want to see, so remember what the dictionary does is that it stores things in a way where it's easy to retrieve. So it says that A is like an index in the dictionary, and alpha is the value that's associated with that index. It's also called more commonly called a key. And to B we associate Bravo, and to C we associate Charlie, and so on. And then if I want to find out what is stored for the value A, I can just do this. I can just put in like A, which is my key, it's a little string, and then it will give me alpha. I can also check what is here for K, that's kilo. Okay. And then it's just convenient to know if I put in something that's not a key, so I put in like 42, for instance. So 42 is not any of the keys. I get an error. So that's called a key error. And this is something you're going to see quite often today and also in the future. I know that I've seen my share of key errors over the time. The only thing you can plug in here are keys. You cannot plug in values. So if I plug in Romeo, I also get a key error. So you only look up like from here to here. But I can plug in R, and that will give me Romeo. Okay, so armed with that knowledge, we're ready to attack the problem. So I put in a print statement, so I have a line of code, and then I can put in a breakpoint. Then I stop the program, and now I just press the debugger again. Because what that will do is that it will first stop here in my original breakpoint, and then I say, okay, I want you to continue. So it stopped before it executed this line of code. That's important to know about the debugger. And that means that when I press run, it will start executing this line of code. And the way it will do that is that it will observe, here's a function call to print. Then I need to evaluate what I put in. So the first part is easy to evaluate because that's just a string. And then it will start evaluating this function. And when it encounters the function, it will start to run my text to NATO function. And therefore it's going to stop here on this line when it reaches this breakpoint. So let's just see that's the case. I press continue, and now we're stopped here. Okay, so plain text we can see by mouse over, that's equal to hello. So how do I create this output that I want to create? I want to create this output here. Let me just copy paste it in. Actually, I want to create this output here. Well, it looks like a sequence of stuff, so I think a for loop would be appropriate to create that. So maybe what I do is that I say output, and I say the output starts out as being the empty string. And then what I want to do basically is that I want to start with the first letter of plain text. So I want to start with like plain text of 0. I just go to the debug console so I can explore it. I want to take H, and then I want to take my NATO alphabet. So NATO alphabet is here. Then I want to plug in H like this. And then I want to add this output to output. No, sorry, this value here to output. So basically what I want to do is that I want to say output should be equal to output, should be equal to alphabet to NATO of plain text of 0. That would be the start of generating this string. I can just confirm that that actually works by copy pasting it into the console. And now I can check that output is equal to hotel like it's supposed to be. Then of course I need to continue, so I need to select the next letter and so on and so forth. And since I'm generating a sequence, that might give me the idea of writing a for loop. So how do I loop over all the letters in plain text? I can actually just do this, for L in plain text, print L. Remember that since plain text is hello, this is actually going to print out get me all the letters in sequence. I can confirm that by selecting these two lines. And now I use a shortcut that's super convenient, and that shortcut is Control CTRL plus Alt plus E. No, sorry, not Control, Shift Alt E. Is it? Yeah. So I select the text and press Shift Alt E, and then I just execute, and we can see that this prints out all the letters. So then I can start to explore what happens if I print out plain text of, no, not plain text of course, I want to print out alphabet to NATO of the letter. And now I select it again, Shift Alt E. Now I can see I get the right output. So that might give me the idea of taking my old value of the output and then saying it should be updated to whatever it was before, plus whatever the next element, like the next of these words are. Now, I have a bit of junk here, so I'm just going to remove these two lines. Let me actually just put them up here. And then let's try to run all of this code that I've written to confirm that it works as I might expect. Maybe you can imagine what this will give. So I'll just try Shift Alt D. Oops, nothing happened. Oh yeah, nothing happened because okay, I need to select the full lines like this. Shift Alt D. So now I ran the code. It didn't generate an output, but that's because there's no print statements here. So I actually need to check what this value is now. So now it started out as the empty string, and then I add hotel, and then I add echo, and then Lima and Oscar. So it looks kind of okay. I still need these dashes in between. So maybe that's the next thing that I do. Like maybe I do like this. Now I can select it again. Shift Alt D. Run the code once more. And now output looks like this. This is almost correct because like I have an extra dash here. So I need to somehow remove that, and maybe the way I can remove it is, let's try to explore. Like we can use this slicing, right? Remember we can use slicing, so this will give me entire string. This will take out 1 letter, 2 letters, 3 letters. I'm happy with this. So maybe I can just say that output is equal to the last bit of output. And now let's just check that it seems to work. So I select all of it and Shift Alt E and run it again. And now output looks like this. Okay, so that seems to work. So I think I'll remove this print statement, and I might as well also remove this. And then I guess this one needs to return a string. So we can see here on the annotation that it also says so. We need to return it as a string. We shouldn't print it out. So I return the output. I can see that it should return a string because of this thing here, like return string. So return output. And now I think I'm happy here. So let's try to stop. And then let's try to run it as normally without stopping at breakpoints. So it says hotel, echo, Lima, Oscar. That looks okay. Let's confirm that the tests also work. So I go to the test flask, and I didn't do well on project 2. That's not good. That means that I did do really good here on this week 5 apparently. So let's do week 6, and then let's find the appropriate text. So we have it test, we have it here. So let's just try to run this test and see what happens. I have a feeling what's going to happen. Yeah, something bad happened. Why? See, it gives an error. So now we need to use this test in order to figure out what the error is. So what we can do here is that we can scroll down and we can see what's actually being tested. So we can see that JSON should become Juliet Alpha Sierra Oscar November. Okay, did that work? No. It seems like that was the one that caused the problem. It says there's an error in that line. What is the error? The error is in my NATO.py file. So it's like in my file the error is created. And the error is that it says key error J. And it makes a squiggly line under this part of the line and says this is the problem. And now you might think, like, why is this potentially a problem? Well, if we go back to NATO, you see that this dictionary, it does have lowercase j, but it doesn't have uppercase j. And there's a difference between upper and lower cases in Python. Like, we can just check that if we are in doubt. We can just start Python. Then we can ask if j is equal to uppercase J, and that's not true. So that's the problem. The method needs to be robust to upper and lowercase letters. So how can I fix that? Well, I can just take this letter and then I can turn it into a lowercase letter using the lower method. Let's just confirm that that actually works. That gives me a lowercase version. And it doesn't do anything when the letter is already lowercased, so it seems like it would work and be robust. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to press save. I'm using Control S to save, so remember that. Like Control plus S, save. This is run lines in debugger. Okay, I save it again, and then I go back here to my test, and now I try to run them, and now it does actually work. So that shows how you can both solve this problem, how you can use the debugger, and how you can use the test. And now just remember that once you start the Python terminal, it's always a good idea to exit it afterwards, because otherwise you might have the problem with running files that I have encountered a couple of times already. So just remember, quit is the way you exit this terminal. Okay, I hope that was informative, and good luck with the exercises.